Hey everybody, Jeff here. Wanted to get a heads up on that video. The GoPro decided it was going to overheat like 23 minute mark, so the video just randomly cuts off. That is why. I did finish that part of the harness off camera, but in part 2 I will explain exactly what I did. And when I go to solder the fog light adapters to the harness, I'll actually demonstrate that on camera. I wanted to do it, but it didn't happen the way I intended. I don't think I'm going to stick with GoPro much longer. I think I'm going to go probably with the Insta360 Ace 2 Pro, which seems to have much better battery life, battery performance, doesn't have the same overheating issues, and just all in all, just better video quality. So it is what it is. Enjoy part 1 on this project. There'll be a part 2 coming soon. Sorry. Fog light should be here on Monday sometime. So I'll unbox those, walk through what's in the kit, and work on part 2 and possibly a part 3. We'll see. Anyway, enjoy part 1 for what it is. Sorry it couldn't be more, but I want to get something out. So enjoy. Hey there everybody, welcome to another episode of Frontier Michigan, and today I'm going to be starting off my project with the fog lights. If you guys don't know, I made a community post saying that my fog lights have shipped finally. Ordered those on the 3rd of January, and we are now on the 26th of February, almost 2 months later. But I do have word they have shipped. They are coming from Foxbeam. Foxbeam makes the bezels. They're 3D printed. The lights themselves are Diode Dynamics SS6s. I have them in amber in the SAE fog light pattern. So they are road legal. Now, part of my plan is to divorce the fog lights from the headlight switch so that I could use them independently and run fogs whenever I want, versus them being tied to the headlight and only using them with the headlights on. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make a harness that plugs into the back of the fog lights and goes up to my aux beam where everything is controlled. I do have a 20-foot extension here that I had ordered just in case when I got my Foxbeam, but I'm going to repurpose this. I'm not going to use the wire inside. Instead, I'm going to use a higher quality wire here. But what I want is the sheathing on this that I'm going to feed this wire through in order to have something nicer than like plastic conduit or whatever. So I'm going to repurpose this. I've already got my soldering iron. What? What'd you do? You forgot your headphones?
Hi, everyone.
Alright, your dog's going crazy. Alright. What you're going to need for this is, if you're going to recreate this, you're going to need a spool of wire. I'm using speaker wire only because this is a higher quality wire than what I think is in here. This is also softer, and I like how it's already bound together as two, so I just have to split the two apart. You're going to need some wire strippers and cutters, a soldering iron, which I already have preheated, a spool of solder, some shrink tubing. I have different sizes here to make this work. Some electrical tape is needed, and one more thing. Pocket torch for the heat shrink. So, like I said, I'm going to repurpose this. I'm going to strip the wire out of this. So I'm going to do the length from the aux beam to the back of the headlight, which is honestly like 3 feet from the back of the passenger headlight, but I'm going to go a little further. That way I got room to route under and round stuff. So I'm going to use my arm span as a gauge here. And my arm span is 5'5", same as my height. So tip of my finger here, I'm going to cut this. Completely off. We'll set that aside for now. I'm going to cut this end off and begin stripping this so that I could use this sheathing. Now you're probably wondering what the electrical tape is for, and I'm about to show you that as soon as I unspool some of this. I'm going to go slightly longer than 5 feet on here. That way I can get this right. And the purpose of this video, one of my viewers mentioned I should probably do a walkthrough of sorts. So if you're watching this, well, this is for you and for everybody else. But anyway, the electrical tape, I'm going to take this as soon as I can find the end of it. It's brand new. All this stuff on the table here is new, except for the torch and all the torch. I'm going to bundle these together and run a piece of tape on it just to keep them together so I can pull it through the sheathing. Now this part's going to take a minute because sheathing doesn't like to play nice, but the good news is this stuff likes to, it's easy to work with in a way. Just kind of massage the sheathing down. See, I've already got the wire pulled through just like that. Just kind of massage it down and it's already going where I want it. So pull that out, and I'm not going to need this. Oh, this is some good wire. I might save this for another project. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of work the sheathing down the speaker wire. Like so. This is where the first bit of shrink tubing comes in handy, so that I can keep this from moving back. This is going to be the end that goes into the aux beam. And some sort of shears, as I already have ripped it apart. Is this the bigger one? Or are these the big ones? Those are the same, so these are the bigger ones. Yeah, I want the 3/8 diameter for this, and this stuff will shrink down to 3/16. The other stuff is 3/16, and it'll shrink to 3/32. Just so that you know what it is. So I have 3/16 starting, going down to the 3/32, and I have some larger 3/8, which will shrink to 3/32, and then I have some even larger 1/2 inch, which this I'll get to later. Now I'm not going to need all of this piece, so we're going to cut this in half, and we're going to use both ends of this. First end on this side of the sheathing, you want to keep it moving so you don't burn your wire, or the sheathing in this case too. I'm also running low heat on the torch, so I don't have it cranked up all the way. Keep it moving so you don't burn it. Like such. That way it keeps the sheathing from, coming apart and riding back down or moving on the wire. I want to keep this together as much as possible. I'm going to trim the end of this just a little bit better. And I'm going to split it so I can work with this. I'm not going to strip this just yet until I'm ready to actually install it into the aux beam. Likewise, down on the other end, same process like we did over on that first end. Shrink tube, put it over your sheathing, over the wire. I'm going to make sure I have as much of this massaged down as possible, because I don't want the sheathing to be super loose. I want to make sure I got all the length where I need it. Just like before. Low heat, you don't need much. Now, some people, you could use a heat gun for this and get the same effect, but I like using a torch, a lighter. I find it works faster, as long as you're careful to keep it moving and don't sit in one spot. This would be the end that we're going to be working with to do our runs. I left a little extra out just so that I have something to work with. So you can see the sheathing is at pretty much 5 feet 5 inches, which is where I wanted it. That way I got room to route it around things and under. I want it exactly as short as possible, because then, if you gotta alter or repair it, then you run out of material quick. Although I don't think I need this much wire hanging out, so we're gonna cut this down. We're definitely going to strip of this. Now, it's hard to tell on camera, but one side of this is more silver and one side of this is more red. The silver side is going to be the negative. So now that this is split, I'm going to take my wire here and strip it. Give it a twist so it braids together. Same thing with the other wire. Strip it, give it a twist so that your wire's not fraying. Just like that. Just have some nice twisted ends. Now, we're going to set this aside, because now I need to do the lead that runs down to the passenger side, which that one doesn't have to be as long as that. So where's my other end that I chopped? Okay. So this side, I'm probably going to make it about, you know, just for the sake of being able to route, we're going to go 5 feet on this as well. Just so that I got room and options for routing it when I go to install. Put that aside. Just like before with the lead going to the aux beam. Pull this out just a little bit, kind of work it down a little. Grab my spool of wire. Pull out some length. We're going to go the 5 feet again. Probably going to be completely overkill when I do the one that crosses over. But it is what it is. I want to make sure I have enough to do this. So just like before, a little bit of electrical tape. Bundle the wire together. Like so. Well, now we're going to start working the wire down so that we can get it out. See, we already got our new wires coming through. Set that down. Just like before, we're going to take our shrink tubing, cut it in half. Go a little bit further down, that way I got some to work with. Just like before on the other one, work the spool down. This is an older, well-used torch, by the way. I used it a lot when I was working at Roush as a prototype tech. In case you don't know, I was a military mechanic for about 6 years, and then I was a Roush technician for 3. A lot of the pre-production and prototype stuff is what I did. I worked in Roush's TASI team, which is Thermal Air Systems Engineering. Basically, helping Ford engineers with their thermal management program on their vehicles. But a lot of times that involved building cars from scratch, instrumenting them with thermocouples, doing repairs, taking them over to the dyno cells and all that, doing repairs in the dyno cells. This could be Ford vehicles that are in testing or about to be in production, and even comparative vehicles. So things like GM, Jeep, Audi, Volkswagen, Golf, Tesla, Mercedes. I mean, if you can think of it that they compete with, I've probably had my hands on it at some point doing testing. So there's that. This is the run that goes to the passenger headlight. So I'm going to set this aside. Now the final one's going to be a bit longer, because it's got to cross over and go to the driver's side and then down. So I'm going to need at least 4 feet at a minimum to go across. And I'm going to give it 4 feet. So we're going to, you know what? I'm going to use the rest of this. Because like I said, I'm going to want the room for routing purposes. So the other end of this, lop that right off, get rid of that. And like I said, the wire that's inside here, I might repurpose for other things. It's a good little 4-core, but wire is much thinner in this stuff than the speaker wire, and I don't want to overload wires on my truck, so grab the appropriate length of wire on this. We're currently 21 minutes into recording this video, but when you guys watch it, it won't be so long. Through the power and magic of editing. Not going to need this the rest of this tonight. And I'm not going to need the electrical tape after this for the rest of the night. Set that out of the way. Now that we're together and fished it, time to work this sheath down the wire. Cool. Now we're on the speaker wire. Now I went with speaker wire because generally speaker wire tends to be a little bit better quality than the stuff that you find under the hood on most vehicles, and generally can carry power a little bit more efficiently, and that's what I'm after. I may not have made that long enough, but we'll find out. Now, of course, I don't need to have this wire, stick out as far as it does. Well, I may need to extend the wire, so you have to bear with me here. But before we go and extend it and do our first demonstration of soldering, so I went a little short, so we're going to have to extend it. Not a big deal. I'd rather do this now versus trying to do it on the truck itself. Come on. Like I said, it's an old torch. Now that's out of gas. So I'm going to have to find a lighter around here because the torch has run out, so that's going to go aside. Fun. Alright, so we're going to add some length onto this other end here because I misjudged it a little bit. That's fine, it happens. So we got to work the wire back out a little bit. Gotta work this stuff like you would a Chinese finger trap. Alright, so that's worked down a little bit. Fun, fun. Alright, so split our wire. We take some of the black here, chop that in half, start feeding it on to my wire. I'll go a little further back, and I'm going to take a white for the positive, feed that on. Not the white, the red for the positive. Feed that down. Well, after I cut it in half. Need a little bit more wire, because I underestimated it. It's supposed to be 20 feet, but I've only got two 5-foot sections, so theoretically that should be a 10-footer. And this was a 25-foot spool, so who knows? Split that. Now we strip the wires. Give a little bit of a braid. Set that over here. The end that we're going to be extending onto, need to strip it and braid it.